And I want to say again, I found evidence of this in all of my ancestral cultures, and the work I'm currently leading, because I am leading Vision Fast work, is more and more anchored in that. I'm not leading a Lakota ceremony or anything like that, which has been a big work for like me. So that's why I want to keep naming that, because I actually don't see that happening from a lot of people who are actually leading this kind of work. But this pattern, what like is it and why is it so important? Well, I really want to speak to, I know a lot of people come to this journey of like cultural transformation through like medicine, like ayahuasca and other things, which is beautiful. And I have a deep path with like psychedelic plant medicines, and it's something I'm currently exploring in a therapeutic context much more. And I want to say that's there's a potentially dangerous pitfall I see of it still being in this adolescent way of like, I'm going to grab at something and take something and consume something in order to be different. And that is the adolescent imprint of like more, take more, consume more, that is fucking up our like planet and our like world at this time. And the incredible thing about this pattern throughout cultures of vision fasting is that it's really going and making yourself an offering. And part of that offering is your willingness to sacrifice food, and in my case, water. It's not always the case. People don't take in water, although I would say it's quite a powerful, it, for me, amplified it tenfold, as you can probably imagine. And it is going to be alone in the wilderness. And part of that, I think, is that at the deepest existential level, as modern human beings, and I think actually as adolescents in general, which is when your ego starts to sense you as a separate self, at age 12, there's this distance between you and this like deepest inherent belonging with life, in the like natural world. And there is something about being alone for 4 days and nights
Hmm.
in nature, stuck in one spot where you can't just wander, but you have to essentially confront that aloneness, that I think psychologically does something that's it's like it's beyond just a trick of the mind, where you feel how utterly not alone you are. And I don't actually know a container that can hold that sort of transformation. It's also in many ways a holding a container, and like I could say in like many ways, and this is something I find in traditional cultures again and again, that part of trauma healing in a traditional culture, in cultures that knew, was to create almost a intentional sort of trauma. And I'm not at all saying this is traumatic in the way we think of it, but it is pretty intense. It is a intense experience, and that actually you need that level of, again, not just random intensity, which many of us have had these so-called rough initiations where very intense stuff happened, but it wasn't culturally held and it wasn't intentional, and that is traumatic and not helpful. But to actually bring that energy of that intensity can do something to like help like slough off some of that ego grips that our psyches have. Um, and I can say there is something, maybe psychedelic isn't the best word, but I don't know if a better word now. Like, if part of that container is to come into a psycho spiritual place of being able to contact the deeper vision, maybe waiting for one's life. What actually a Lakota elder, who is the lineage holder of the tradition I was in, said is a spiritual job description. You need like the level of being altered that happens when you are alone in the wilderness without food and perhaps water is what that actually offers. And for like me, I can personally trust that much more than I can just sitting in per se ayahuasca circle. And again, I'm not trying to rag on that practice. I think it's actually really necessary, but it's not so easy. I think it's easier to go and drink ayahuasca personally. And there's
Mm.
something much different about facing that aloneness and facing that sacrifice because you're offering something you're not just taking.